So I was watching the news lately and I was just thinking to myself, I don't think there is a civil rights organization that is more hated than the NRA. Now, like any other civil rights organization, the aim of the NRA is to protect the freedoms of individuals. Now, I can't understand how anyone would blame a civil rights organization for the misdeeds of someone who chooses to abuse those rights and freedoms. Now, the people who are blaming the NRA for the recent tragedies, they're basically saying that they don't believe in personal accountability. In other words, they don't believe that people should be held accountable for their actions. Now, if I drove drunk and killed someone, would it be fair to blame the DMV? Because after all, the DMV is the entity that gave me the right and my license to drive. Now, I know it's a privilege, but in California, we treat it more like a right because illegal aliens have it too. But would that be fair to blame the DMV? No, of course it wouldn't. The NAACP and the ACLU they're both civil rights organizations as well. And they also protect freedoms of individuals, and some of them specialize in the freedoms of minorities. But I don't see anyone hating on either of them when minorities or other people abuse those freedoms, especially in the inner cities. But for some reason, people have no problem blaming the NRA when somebody abuses a gun. Now, CNN held a town hall meeting this week, although it was actually more like an anti-gun propaganda rally. But they had some speakers on, and they had people ask some scripted questions. But here are some of the lowlights of that event.
I absolutely believe that in this country, if you are 18 years of age, you should not be able to buy a rifle, and I will support a law that takes that right away.
Fantastic.
I will support.
I've never heard someone receive so much praise after threatening to strip away an American freedom.
I will answer any questions you guys have about any policy.
Right now, guys, be quiet.
And I just think that ultimately that is not our goal here. Our goal here is to move forward.
Wait, so hold on. So right now, in the name of 17 people, you cannot ask the NRA to keep their money out of your campaign?
Well, the arrogance of this kid. And now I understand. He's been through a tragedy, and he's very emotional. I understand that, but I mean, he's talking in a public forum, so people can criticize him. But the arrogance of this kid to think that he can speak for all 17 of those victims is just baffling. Okay? Let me say this. If I am ever killed in a mass shooting, do not let anyone use my death for gun control propaganda.
Senator Rubio, my daughter, running down the hallway at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, was shot in the back.
Yes, sir.
With an assault weapon, the weapon of choice.
Yes, sir.
Okay? It is too easy to get. It is a weapon of war. The fact that you can't stand with everybody in this building and say that.
So this was the father of one of the victims. And what he does here is he does something that I see with a lot of ammophobes or gun grabbers or anti-gunners, whatever you want to call them. I see that a lot, and that's he's trying to establish expertise through the use of emotion. He paints a graphic picture of his daughter getting gunned down in a hallway, and acts like that gives him the qualifications and the expertise on guns and policy. And that's just not logical. I mean, there's no logic behind that. Ben Shapiro said it on his show the other day that just because you suffer through something doesn't make you an expert on that particular subject. I've had multiple family members of mine pass away due to cancer. But does that qualify me for a PhD in treating tumors? No, it doesn't. It's ridiculous. It's not logical. I don't know anything about tumors, and from this father's spiel, apparently he doesn't know anything about guns either.
Look at me and tell me guns were the factor in the hunting of our kids in this school this week. And look at me and tell me you accept it and you will work with us to do something about guns. Or the fact that you can't stand with everybody in this building and say that.
So what he basically says to Senator Rubio is to agree with me and everyone standing in this room and acknowledge that guns are the problem, or else. That's basically what he says to him. And agree with me or else. He's essentially trying to force his ideas down Senator Rubio's throat. And I don't know about you, but to me that sounds like the attitude of a dictator. People often have been mocking Republicans and right-wingers for saying, oh, it's too soon to talk about policy after a tragedy. Now this father and his dictator-like attitude and his illogical ideas demonstrate exactly why we shouldn't discuss policy after a tragedy.